By the time the coffee finished dripping, I already knew Lana wasn't really running late for a showing. She stood at the kitchen counter in her good blazer, the one with the sharp shoulders that made her look like she ate junior associates for breakfast. Her phone lay face down beside her mug, buzzing every few seconds like it was trying to crawl away. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I thought you said first appointment was at 10, I said, rinsing my cereal bowl. It moved up, she said, too fast. Motivated buyers. You wouldn't understand. Sarcasm stirred in the back of my throat like old whiskey. You're right, sweetheart. I only juggle 3 construction sites, 4 subcontractors, and a safety inspector who hates my face. Instead, I said, sure, must be nice having clients obsessed with you. Her phone buzzed again. The corner of her mouth twitched, just once. She flipped it over to check the screen, thinking I'd turned away. The reflection from the microwave door betrayed her. The preview showed a photo of a guy's forearm, veins, sweat, black gym band, captioned, "Ready for your cardio?" She locked the screen so fast she almost dropped it. Who's that? I asked, still watching the sync. Client. Beat. Trainer. For a client. Another beat. Work stuff, Eli. Don't start. I wanted to lean over, take the phone, and shove it in the garbage disposal. Instead, I wiped my hands on the dish towel and smiled like the good husband from the commercials. Wouldn't dream of it, I said. Got a shower. Your baggage has a big day. She rolled her eyes at the phrase, a burden, like it was a joke we both shared. It wasn't. That was hers. Something she'd said once after 2 glasses of wine. If you lost your job, you'd become a burden, Eli. We can't afford that. She'd laughed and kissed my cheek as if words didn't stick. Spoiler, they do. Sunday dinner at the Graysons' house was a weekly reminder that my wife had married down and was still waiting for the returns to mature. Their place sat on a hill like a retired plantation that had reinvented itself as a real estate brochure. White columns, manicured hedges, a driveway that could park 8 cars if you stacked them right. My truck looked like a rescue animal in a showroom full of purebred dogs. Elaine opened the door with a hug that felt like being measured. Eli, you look tired, she said, in the tone people reserve for phrases like terminal. Construction season, I said. We build things. Then other people criticize the tile. She laughed politely and stepped aside so Lana could sweep in ahead of me, her heels clicking on the marble. Already in hostess mode. Already on. Richard waited in the dining room, sitting at the head of the table with his reading glasses on, flipping through a folder. He didn't stand when I walked in. He rarely did. Eli, he said, we need to talk about Harbor Ridge. Of course we did. We always needed to talk about something when I hadn't done anything wrong yet. Happy to, I said, taking the chair opposite him. Right after Grace, maybe, so we can ask God to bless the cash flow. He gave me that tight, patient smile older men give younger men they think they own. Lana's 2 friends were already there, perched at the far end of the table with their phones as centerpieces. Kelly and Brooke, perpetual spectators, professional reactors. They chorused, "Hey, Eli," in the same pitch, without looking up from whatever drama they were scrolling. Dinner began with small talk and expensive wine I couldn't taste because I was counting the number of times Lana's phone lit up in her lap. Twice. 4 times. 7. Each time, she'd glance down and smirk in that private way you do when someone texts you something you're not supposed to laugh at in public. So, Elaine said, spearing a piece of salmon, what is it you do again, dear? Project manager, I said. We build the places where your Starbucks lives. Kelly snorted. He's underselling it. Lana says you're like the only reason those sites don't catch fire. Give it time, Richard muttered, eyes on my face. Harbor Ridge is over budget. Again. I set my fork down. Harbor Ridge is over budget because someone decided to switch to custom stone veneer halfway through framing, I said. Those aren't numbers. That's your vanity, Richard. Silence fell for half a heartbeat. Then Kelly whispered, "Yikes," under her breath. Richard's jaw tightened. Lana cut in fast. Dad's just trying to create value, Eli. It's called ambition. And I'm just the guy with a hard hat and a calculator, I said. We all have our roles. Elaine leaned in conspiratorially to Lana's friends. You know, when Lana was in college, we always said she'd end up with someone who really matched her drive. Big dreams, big career. She used to date this boy from Boston. Doctor's son, handsome, money, connections. Mom, Lana hissed. I'm just saying. Elaine smiled, cold and bright. The heart wants what it wants, but the mortgage company has a different opinion. Brooke giggled. Don't worry, Lana, you're still young, plenty of time to trade up. Everyone laughed except me. I smiled into my plate and imagined quietly flipping the table just to see their faces. After dessert, Lana and her friends migrated to the kitchen under the pretense of coffee and helping, leaving me alone with Richard and his folder. He slid it across the table like a dealer. I'll need you to sign a few things soon, he said, tapping the papers. Nothing too complicated, just formalizing your role as our point man on Harbor Ridge. Banks like to see family skin in the game. I didn't open it. I just rested my hand on the folder, feeling the weight and the slick, expensive paper. Family, huh? I said. Would that be the same family that calls me a burden when I'm not in the room? Or is there another branch somewhere more appreciative? His eyes narrowed. Lana tell you that as a joke? She's very funny, I said. Almost as funny as forged signatures. That got a flicker, small, but there. We're all on the same side here, Eli, he said. You want Lana to have security? This is how it works. You step up, you take responsibility. You stop being comfortable. Out in the kitchen, voices dropped to a murmur. Glasses clinked. Lana laughed, high and sharp, then cut off mid-sound like someone had hit pause. I stood. I'll take a look at it, I said, dropping the folder back in front of him. After I read the part where I go to prison if you screw up. I left him there and walked toward the kitchen, following the hiss of whispers instead of the smell of coffee. The kitchen door was half closed. They didn't see me. They never did. I'd always been background furniture in this house. I'm serious, Lana was saying, low and urgent. I can't keep babysitting him. He's comfortable, he's predictable, he's fine. I don't want fine anymore. Brooke made a sympathetic noise. So, what are you gonna do? There was a rustle of fabric, a clink of a spoon in a mug. After his birthday, it's done, Lana said. Dad says we'll have everything signed by then. Clean break, new start, maybe in Miami or LA, somewhere with people who actually think big. Kelly snickered. You mean like Tyler? Oh my God, shut up, Lana said. But she was laughing, the kind of laugh I hadn't heard from her in our kitchen in a long, long time. Just don't say his name here, please. My mom still thinks he's just my trainer. They laughed together, warm and mean. Elaine's voice chimed in from somewhere near the sink. As long as you land on your feet, baby. Some men drag you down. You can't let them rule your whole life just because you signed a piece of paper at 28. Exactly, Lana said. I'm not wasting my 30s on a man who thinks Harbor Ridge is a big deal. I stepped back before the floorboards could betray me. The hallway felt narrower on the way out, like the house was leaning in to listen too. By the time I reached the front door, I had my polite face back on. Elaine fluttered around me, pressing leftovers into my hands, kissing my cheek, telling me to rest up for your big birthday next week, sweetheart. We have a surprise planned. I bet you do, I thought. I drove home with the windows down and the radio off, letting the cold air slap my face awake. Lana rode with her parents to help clean up, which meant I had the house to myself. The bills on the counter, the laundry on the chair, the dent in the couch where I always sat. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table where she'd forgotten it in the rush to look perfect for dinner. The screen lit up with a notification from the gym app. Session confirmed with Tyler for Tuesday. Full body burn. I stared at it until the screen went dark. Maybe another man would have blown up right then. Stormed back to the Graysons' house, held the phone up, demanded answers, screamed. I just sat down, picked up the remote, and turned the TV on without turning the sound up. Reflections flickered over the blank glass, turning me into 3 or 4 versions of myself. A burden in all of them. But the thing about weight is, it doesn't just sit there. It presses down, it crushes. Sometimes, if you let it build long enough, it can bring the whole structure down. That night, in the quiet of our living room, I opened my laptop, created a new folder, and typed a name for it. After his birthday. Then I moved Lana's phone into it in my mind, and Richard's folder, and Harbor Ridge, and every little cruel joke they thought I hadn't heard. That was the night I stopped being the burden and started being the problem. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of rage, that part had gone strangely cold, but because of clarity. The kind of clarity that arrives at 3 a.m., sits on your chest, and whispers, "They think you're too dumb to see the knife. They're wrong. Pick it up first." By sunrise, I'd already showered, shaved, and packed a folder into my truck. Not my revenge folder, not yet, but something more subtle. Timelines, invoices, project photos, work stuff, the kind of things a harmless, overworked project manager would carry around. Lana was still asleep, one arm hanging off the side of the bed, hair perfect even in unconscious arrogance. Her phone rested on the nightstand, face up, glowing with morning notifications. One name kept popping, Tyler. A small mercy, she'd muted our shared calendar. At the office, Maya greeted me with coffee and suspicion. "You're early," she said, handing me the cup. Like, unnervingly early. The last time you came in this early, someone fell through a stairwell. "No fatalities today," I said. "Just curiosity." That woke her up faster than caffeine. "Curiosity about what?" I closed the door to my tiny project office and spread out the Harbor Ridge documents. Maya set her coffee down like she was afraid the papers might explode. "Is this about that weird request Richard sent last month?" she asked. "The one he made you sign on his tailgate?" "Funny you remember that," I said. "I remember because it was shady and rushed and he didn't want anyone else to see it." She paused. "Did something happen?" I let the silence answer her. Maya's expression tightened. "Eli, tell me you didn't sign something that puts you personally responsible for their cost overruns." "I didn't," I said. "At least, not in this universe. But apparently, in whatever universe Richard lives in, my signature appears in a few places I've never stood." She blinked. "You're kidding." "I wish. Look at these dates." Maya leaned in, scanning. Her eyes widened. "Eli, these were notarized the same week you were supervising the out-of-state mall project." "Exactly," I said. "And unless I've mastered astral projection, something doesn't add up." She shook her head slowly. "He didn't forge your signature?" "No, I forged someone else's signature," I said dryly. "Richard, never, honest as a snake at confession." Maya sat back. "Eli, this is bad, like, legally bad." "Oh, I know." She pushed her glasses up the bridge of her nose. "You should talk to someone, not me, someone who likes billable hours." "Already booked," I said. "College friend, civil law, the kind who smiles when he smells weakness in the water." She exhaled, long and low. "Okay. What do you need from me?" I hesitated. Maya and I weren't close, but she had that rare quality in an office. Integrity mixed with excellent gossip radar. "I need internal memos," I said. "Meeting notes. Anything that shows Harbor Ridge was already in trouble before Richard shoved that paperwork at me." She stared at me for a moment, gauging risk. Then she nodded. "I'll get you everything. Give me an hour." While Maya dug, I drove to see Jonas. His office was above a nail salon, next to a failing yoga studio that smelled like lavender and debt. Jonas himself was in jeans, barefoot, eating leftover pad thai. "Harper," he said, waving noodles at me, "you look like someone's been using your face as a dartboard." Something like that. I dropped the folder on his desk. He opened it, skimmed the first 2 pages, and immediately stopped chewing. "Did you sign this?" he asked. "No." "Were you present when this was notarized?" "No." He looked at me over his glasses. "Eli, this is forgery, a textbook case." I sat across from him, hands clasped. "Tell me more words like that." He flipped through page after page, nostrils flaring in that lawyer way that means someone else is about to have a very bad month. "Jesus," he muttered. He didn't even bother aligning the witness signatures. Amateur hour. I shrugged. "They think I'm harmless." "That's adorable," Jonas said, "and also exactly why they did it." He leaned back. "Here's the deal. If you challenge this with the bank, they'll freeze everything tied to the project until they sort out who's lying. And Richard is absolutely lying. It won't send him to prison. That's not how this works. But it will drag his business across a bed of nails." "You say that like it's a downside." "It's a downside for Lana," he said. "Her license, her listings, her entire brand identity, all tied to her dad's stability." "Good," I said. Jonas raised an eyebrow. "Ah, so this is about more than paperwork." I didn't answer. I didn't have to. He tapped the desk. "You want me to file the dispute?" "Not yet," I said. "Soon. Very soon." Jonas smirked. "You're planning something." "I'm planning to stop being their insurance policy." Back at the office, Maya had a stack of papers waiting. She slid them across my desk. "Look at page 3. I did. There it was, a memo between Richard and his project leads. "If Harbor Ridge stalls, we shift liability to Harper. He's family adjacent and dependable." Family adjacent. Like a porch light attracting insects. Maya watched my face. "Eli, I'm sorry." "It's not your fault," I said. "You're the only one here who hasn't tried to weaponize me." She hesitated. "I overheard something else last week. Elaine was talking to one of the agents. She said—" Maya swallowed. "She said if the project collapses, at least we have a Harper to sacrifice. That's why Lana married Safe." I laughed. Quiet. Sharp. "Safe? Yeah. I guess safety's boring." Maya's expression softened. "What are you going to do?" I picked up the memo. Then the forged papers. Then the gym notifications on Lana's phone replayed in my mind like a taunt. "I'm going to let them finish setting the trap," I said, "and then I'm going to watch them fall into it." That night, Lana came home late. She smelled like citrus body spray and the gym. She tossed her bag onto the counter and kissed me on the cheek like a wife in a commercial. "How was work?" she asked, scrolling her phone. "Educational," I said. "Yours?" "Normal," she said too quickly. "Client issues, contracts, stress." Right on cue, her phone buzzed. She turned away from me as she read it, but I'd already seen the name. Tyler. And the message preview, "Same time tomorrow? Bring that outfit." She locked the phone and pretended nothing happened. I didn't call her out. Didn't ask. Didn't hint. I just smiled, wiped the counter and said, "Next week is my birthday. Looking forward to it." She froze for half a second, a glitch, before recovering. "Oh," she said. "Yeah, we have something planned." "I bet you do." She didn't hear the edge in my voice. She never did. But the house did. The walls heard. The refrigerator hummed louder like it knew tension when it tasted it. And as Lana disappeared into the shower humming some pop song, I opened my laptop again, opened the folder after his birthday, and added the new memo, the new screenshots, the new dots connecting themselves. I didn't need to snoop in shadows. I just needed to wait, because they'd told me the date they planned to attack. And now? Now I was counting down. By Thursday, the countdown felt less like waiting and more like tightening a bolt. One turn at a time. Quiet. Precise. Lana left early for a showing, wearing her gym leggings under an oversized blazer, the kind of disguise only cheaters and teenagers think works. I watched her drive off, then grabbed my jacket and followed at a polite distance, not close enough to be suspicious, close enough to confirm what I already knew. She didn't go to any showing. She went to the old boardwalk. The place looked even sadder in the morning. Peeling paint, empty kiosks, a seagull screaming like it had beef with the universe. I parked 2 rows behind her car and stayed inside my truck. No binoculars, no cloak and dagger nonsense, just observation. 10 minutes later, Tyler's black coupe rolled in. He climbed out wearing a tank top that did most of the heavy lifting. Lana practically floated toward him. They hugged. Not a client hug, not a friend hug, a relationship hug, the kind you give someone who knows the details of your skin. Tyler whispered something in her ear that made her swat his chest and laugh. Then they walked toward the back entrance of the old arcade, hands brushing, shoulders touching. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. Instead, I took 3 photos. 1, the 2 of them together, entering the arcade. 2, the time-stamped boardwalk sign. 3, both their cars parked side by side, matching little lies on wheels. Evidence, clean, simple, human, not spying, just truth catching up. When I got home, Lana was already back, hair wet like she'd showered somewhere else. She smiled too brightly. "Hi, babe. Crazy day. Clients are exhausting." I nodded. Bet they are. She didn't notice the grit in my voice, or she noticed and decided to ignore it, the Grayson's favorite survival instinct. I went into my office, closed the door, and added the photos to after his birthday. The folder was starting to look like a documentary no one wanted to star in. As I sorted the files, my phone buzzed. A message from Maya. "Got something else. Call me." I called immediately. Her voice was low. "Eli, Richard's planning something big. There's a meeting tomorrow morning. They've already filled out paperwork shifting all Harbor Ridge liability onto you. They think you'll be too shocked to fight back." I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. "They want to drop it on me at the birthday dinner," I said. "Make it look like I'm the problem." "Exactly." "Perfect," I said. Maya paused. "Eli, are you okay?" "Better than okay," I said. "I'm finally seeing the frame of the house instead of just the drywall." Before she could answer, another message came in, from Lana this time. "Don't forget, Sunday dinner will be special. Yeah, a surprise, a performance, a trap." I smiled to myself as I typed back a simple, "Can't wait." Friday brought the kind of calm that usually happens right before a roof collapses. Quiet, suspicious, artificial. Even the air in the house felt staged, like someone had sprayed domestic harmony from a can. Lana floated around all morning humming, checking her phone every 30 seconds, pretending not to care whether I noticed. "I might be late tonight," she said, while applying lipstick in the hallway mirror. "Client emergency." "Of course," I said. "Emergencies love Fridays." She didn't hear the sarcasm. She never did. She kissed my cheek, grabbed her bag, and hurried out. 10 seconds later, my own phone lit up. A calendar alert she'd forgotten to delete. Tyler, gym session, 6:30 p.m. Client emergency indeed. I didn't follow this time. I didn't need more proof. What I needed was aligning the last beams before the demolition. At the construction site, I met with our inspector. He handed me a stack of notes about Harbor Ridge. Safety issues, supply delays, a few code failures Richard had been ignoring. "This thing's a mess," the inspector said. "Someone's gonna eat it." "Not me," I said, taking the papers. He snorted. "Smart man." I scanned the pages. They were perfect, not for the project, but for the truth. The bank would want to see exactly these issues, and after Sunday, they would. On my drive home, Maya called again. They moved the meeting, she said. Richard wants to finalize the transfer forms before Sunday. They're rushing everything. Good, I said. Let them rush. People make mistakes when they're excited. Eli, you sound different. That's because I'm building something, I said. And for once, it's not for them. Lana came home late, hair damp again, cheeks flushed. Same lie, different day. Crazy clients, she said, dropping her keys. Must be exhausting, I replied, watching her avoid eye contact. She offered a thin smile. Don't forget, Sunday is important. Oh, I remember, I said. Hard to forget when everyone's preparing such thoughtful surprises. If she heard the undertone, she dismissed it, vanishing into the bedroom. I stayed in my office, added the inspector's notes to after his birthday, reviewed every file, every screenshot, every timeline. Everything was aligned. Everything was ready. They thought Sunday would bury me. They had no idea. I'd already dug the hole. Sunday arrived dressed like a celebration and wired like an execution. Lana spent the morning polishing herself into perfection. Hair curled, nails done, perfume thick enough to hide every lie she'd told this week. You look nice, she said to me, not looking up from the mirror. You too, I said. Ready for tonight? She paused for a fraction of a second, barely a glitch, but I caught it. Of course, she said. It'll be a turning point. Oh, it would. Just not the direction she expected. The Graysons' house was already full when we pulled up. Cars lined the driveway, more than usual. A bigger audience, the kind of crowd people gather when they want witnesses for a controlled demolition. Elaine greeted us with a too-sweet smile. Birthday boy, she sang, hugging me like she was comforting someone about to undergo surgery. Come in, come in. Everyone's waiting. Everyone. Of course. Richard was at the dining table, papers neatly stacked beside his wine glass. He didn't even bother to hide them. Lana's friends were filming candid moments, the kind they pretend to post accidentally. Brooke winked at Lana as if to say, finally. Dinner was a blur of forced compliments and thin jokes. I watched them more than I listened. The nervous glances, the rehearsed small talk, the electricity of people waiting for a show to start. And then, right after dessert, it started. Lana cleared her throat and stood, smoothing her dress. Eli, she said, we all wanted to gather tonight because, well, it's time for honesty. I almost laughed. Honesty. Cute. She placed a white envelope in front of me, neatly sealed, heavy with signatures, divorce papers. Everyone watched my face, waiting for the collapse, the begging, the predictable heartbreak. But it was Richard who delivered the punchline. He slid a second envelope across the table, this one thick with legal weight, and said, "Pay this or go to prison." Gasps. A shaky giggle from Kelly. The camera phones tilted toward me like curious birds. I picked up the envelope, opened it, scanned the forged guarantee, the exact document Jonas had already dissected, and set it down gently. Then I looked Richard in the eye and said, calm as a surgeon, "You should have checked the title before threatening me." The room froze. A perfect, stunned silence. I stood, pushed my chair in, and walked out without taking a single envelope with me. Behind me, voices rose. Sharp, confused, panicked. But I didn't turn back. Because the funniest part? They thought this was the climax. They had no idea the opening act had just ended. I didn't drive home right away. I parked 2 blocks down from the Graysons' house, engine off, watching their windows glow like a hornet's nest someone had just kicked. From here, I could almost hear them unraveling. Lana calling my name in disbelief. Elaine, whisper shrieking. Brooke recording the chaos for her group chat titled something like Queens Only. And Richard, pacing, furious, confused, realizing I hadn't reacted like prey. Good. Let the confusion simmer. It would boil soon enough. By the time I got home, my phone had exploded with notifications. 7 missed calls. Lana, 12 missed calls. Richard voicemails. Elaine, 2. Richard 5. Lana, 3. Unknown number, 8 times. The last one was likely Tyler. Lana must have looped in her emotional support dumbbell. I tossed the phone onto the counter and made myself a sandwich. Cheese, mustard, quiet satisfaction. A surprisingly good combination. Halfway through the sandwich, the phone rang again. I answered. Lana's voice burst through the speaker, shrill, shaky, brittle. Eli, what the hell was that? Why would you embarrass us like that? Dad is furious. You walked out in the middle of my own execution? I said. Yeah, rude of me. This isn't funny. It's a little funny. She inhaled sharply. You need to come back and sign the papers, now, before this gets worse. Oh, Lana, I said softly. It already got worse. You just haven't opened the right emails yet. A beat of silence. Then, what emails? You'll see. I hung up before she could start the routine. Denial, manipulation, fake tears, rinse, repeat. Next came Richard. He didn't bother with greetings. What did you do? He demanded. Filed a dispute, I said, and a report. You idiot! Do you know what you've started? Integrity? I offered. Accountability? A new hobby? You listen to me, he snarled. Withdraw it, now, or everything falls apart. Richard, I said, smiling into the darkness of my kitchen. That's the point. He went quiet, not defeated, not yet, but shaken. He finally hissed, You won't survive this. Oh, I will, I said. You're the one with forged documents and a panicking lender. Might want to check your voicemail. I heard him breathing, heavy, uneven, the sound of someone realizing their weapon had misfired in their own hands. I hung up on him, too. An hour later, as I reviewed the updated folder after his birthday, the messages started pouring in. Email. Bank review initiated. Harbor Ridge flagged for irregular authorization. Email. Request for clarification. Chapter notarization discrepancies. Email. Meeting scheduled with legal counsel Monday morning. Everything was underway, everything was sliding out from under them, and I hadn't even started with Tyler yet. Near midnight, the final message arrived. From Lana. A single sentence. What did you do? They're saying the project is frozen. Dad is losing it. Call me. I typed back. This is just the foundation. Then I switched off the lights, shut the bedroom door, and slept better than I had in months. Monday morning, the city wore its hangover honestly. Gray sky, greasy light, everything a little slower than it should have been. Perfect day to watch someone else's world tilt. I ironed a shirt, knotted a tie Lana had picked out months ago when she still thought of me as a long-term accessory, and drove not to my office, but to hers. Grayson Realty sat in one of those glass boxes downtown that pretend they're skyscrapers if you stand close enough. Big logo on the front, bigger ego inside. The receptionist looked up as I walked in, blinked like she'd seen a ghost, then tried to rearrange her face into neutral. Hey, Eli, she said. They're in a meeting. I know, I said. I'm invited. Technically, I wasn't. But panic has a way of opening doors. Down the hall, Lana's voice was already raised. So was Richard's. Paper rustled. Chairs scraped. Someone said, This is a serious compliance issue, Richard. Good. I walked straight into the conference room without knocking. They all turned at once. Lana, pale, mascara slightly smudged, phone on the table glowing with unread messages. Richard, red-faced, sleeves rolled up like he was about to manually hold the economy together. Elaine, perched in the corner, clutching a designer bag like a life vest. 2 senior agents I recognized from holiday parties. And at the head of the table, a woman in a navy blazer with an HR badge and an expression that said she had lost all patience with the Grayson family circus. Glad you started without me, I said. I hate small talk. Lana shot up from her chair. You can't just walk in here. Sure I can, I said, closing the door behind me. I'm family adjacent, remember? You wrote it down. The HR woman looked at me over folded hands. Mr. Harper, I'm Sandra. We were just discussing some discrepancies related to Harbor Ridge and certain documents bearing your name. Richard glared daggers. We've got it handled. You do not, Sandra said crisply, not taking her eyes off me. Mr. Harper, do you claim you did not authorize the guarantee attached to the Harbor Ridge loan? I claim I wasn't even in the state when that document was allegedly signed, I said. And my lawyer has already provided those records to the bank. A flicker crossed her face. We received that email this morning. I nodded. Along with copies of internal memos from this office using the phrase, shift liability to Harper, like it's a line item. Lana's head snapped toward Richard. You wrote that down? It was shorthand, he snapped. You're blowing this out of proportion. No, Sandra said. Forging signatures and misrepresenting financial responsibility is very much in proportion. One of the senior agents, Mark, I think, the one who always cornered me at Christmas to talk about golf, cleared his throat. Richard, we had a right to know if you were dragging the entire firm into a fraud investigation, he said. It's not fraud, Richard barked. It's creative structure. Banks call it misrepresentation, I said. Lawyers call it evidence. Elaine finally spoke, voice trembling. You're doing this to your own wife, to our family? I turned to her. You did this to your family the moment you decided I'd make a good fall guy. I'm just declining the role. Lana slammed her hands on the table. This is insane. We can fix it, okay? Just withdraw whatever you filed and we'll renegotiate the divorce. Lana, Sandra cut in. This meeting is not about your marriage. Oh, it is, I said quietly. Just not the way she thinks. I set my own folder on the table and opened it, neat and deliberate. One by one, I slid out. Copies of the forged guarantee. Site logs proving I was out of state. The memo using me as family-adjacent liability. The bank's email confirming their investigation. And since we're all about honesty today, I added, I brought a few extras. I took out my phone, tapped a few times, and mirrored the screen to the conference room monitor. Up flashed a photo, Lana and Tyler at the boardwalk, going into the old arcade, his hand on the small of her back. Gasps, an audible, "Oh my God," from one of the agents. This is not relevant, Elaine snapped. This is a private matter. It becomes relevant, Sandra said slowly, when company time and resources are involved. I swiped to the next image, their cars side by side, timestamp overlay. Then to one more, a motel parking lot from a previous weekend, same two cars, different night. I'm not here to litigate my marriage, I said, but I thought your partners might want to know why certain showings were mysteriously canceled while company credit cards were charged for client dinners and travel. One of the agents looked physically ill. Those charges run through my department, she whispered. Lana's face went waxy. You're twisting everything, she said. This is harassment. It's documentation, I said. Something this firm seems to struggle with unless there's someone else's name to paste at the bottom. Sandra's expression hardened. Richard, is this true? Were you aware your daughter was misusing company accounts for personal associations? Richard was shaking now, but not from guilt, from realizing how quickly the power balance had shifted. We will discuss this internally, he said, without outsiders. I laughed once. Still using that word, huh? Outsider. Interesting, considering your loan paperwork lists me as a primary guarantor, and your memos treat me like built-in damage control. Brooke chose that moment to peek in, phone in hand, eyes wide. What's happening? She hissed to Lana. Half the office is saying the bank froze your dad's accounts. Get out, Brooke, Lana snapped. But it was too late. Rumor had already breached the glass walls. Phones buzzed around the table. One of the agents glanced at his screen and blanched. "They're pulling 3 listings," he said. "Big ones. They're citing concerns about ongoing investigations." Sandra folded her hands. "Official now. Effective immediately, we're suspending all new Harbor Ridge activity and placing both Richard and Lana on internal review, pending the bank's findings." Lana stared at her. "You can't do that. This is my father's company." "It's also licensed under state regulations," Sandra said. "Those licenses can be revoked." Elaine surged to her feet. "This is outrageous. Eli is trying to ruin us." I met her glare evenly. "You did that when you bet everything on me staying quiet." Richard pointed at me, finger shaking. "You think you've won? You have no idea what you've started. I still own Harbor Ridge. I still own assets you can't even—" "Harbor Ridge," I echoed. "Right." I closed my folder, slid it back into my bag. "Keep thinking that," I said. "In the meantime, you might want to swing by the site this evening." "Why?" Lana demanded. "Because that's where this ends," I said. "One way or another." I walked out to a hallway full of half-whispered speculation. Phones clutched like life rafts, eyes darting between me and the conference room. For the first time in years, nobody looked through me. They watched me go like I was the storm, and they'd just realized the windows were open. Outside, I stood on the sidewalk and dialed a number I'd been saving. When he picked up, I said, "Inspector, it's Harper, about Harbor Ridge. You still want to document those code violations on site?" He grunted. "Always." "Meet me there at 8, I said. "Looks like we're finally pouring the last slab." I hung up, looked up at the gray sky, and imagined the half-built skeleton of Harbor Ridge waiting on the hill. I'd spent months trying not to let it collapse. Now I was going to make damn sure it did, right on top of the people who tried to bury me underneath it. Harbor Ridge sat on the hill like a wounded animal, half-framed skeletons jutting into the storm clouds, sheets of loose tarp snapping in the wind. The kind of place people avoid at night, the kind of place perfect for ending things. My truck's headlights carved 2 pale tunnels across the mud as I pulled up. The inspector's car was already there, parked crooked, wipers slapping. He nodded at me, clipboard under his jacket. "Storm's rolling in," he said. "You sure you want to do this now?" "Oh, I'm counting on the storm," I said. "Makes everything clearer." He grunted and walked toward the first structure, boots sinking into the muck. His flashlight beam swept across exposed rebar, warped scaffolding, a stack of materials Richard had cut corners on. Every flaw glowed like a confession. I waited, and right on schedule, headlights flared behind me. 3 cars, Lana's, Richard's, and, of course, Tyler's black coupe, fishtailing into the mud like a show horse that didn't understand dirt. They all spilled out at once. "What the hell are you doing here?" Richard barked, storming toward me. "Finishing what you started," I said. Lana's hair whipped in the wind, her mascara streaking. "Eli, please. That investigator told Dad the project is frozen." "It is," I said, "because the bank is reviewing forged documents and financial misrepresentation." Richard shoved a finger into my chest. "Withdraw it." "I didn't file it with you in mind," I said, brushing his hand away. "I filed it because you stole my name, my future, and you thought I'd stay quiet because you're loud." He lunged again, but Tyler grabbed his arm. "Dude, stop," Tyler said. "Let me talk to him." I laughed. "Perfect. The circus has a spokesperson." Tyler stepped forward, tightening his jaw like he'd practiced in mirrors. "You need to stop screwing with Lana's family," he growled. "You're ruining her life." I tilted my head. "Funny. I thought you were already handling the ruining part." He flushed. "Shut up. You think you're some hero now? You think scaring people with paperwork makes you a man?" "No," I said, "but this might." I grabbed him by the front of his jacket and drove him backward into a stack of hollow core panels. They clattered like thunder. Lana screamed. Richard shouted my name. Tyler swung wildly, sloppy, panicked. "Good." I dodged, slammed his shoulder into a support beam, and pinned him there, not hurting him, just reminding him that real strength doesn't come from protein powder. You came into my house, I hissed, into my marriage, and thought I wouldn't look back. You thought I was predictable, quiet, safe, the kind of man who apologizes for other people's sins. He winced, mud splattering his cheek. Get off me, man. I leaned close. You're lucky I'm not the kind of man you were betting on. Then I let him go, not gently. And he staggered, slipping in the mud and landing on his back with a satisfying splat. His keys skittered across the ground. I stepped on them, then kicked them straight off the edge of the foundation pit, where they disappeared into 8 feet of brown water. Tyler scrambled to his feet. My car! Are you insane? Probably, I said, but I'm not done yet. The inspector reappeared, raising his clipboard. Got all the photos, he called out. Code violations everywhere, dangerous as hell. This site won't open again without a miracle. Richard turned white. You can't shut this down. This project is my retirement. No, I said. It was your retirement. Past tense. Lana stepped forward, voice trembling. Eli, what do you want? Money? An apology? To feel like you won? I looked at her. Really looked. The woman who once promised we'd build something together, who traded that promise for a gym membership and a man with shiny delts. What I want, I said softly, is for you to understand that I see you now. Really see you. And you don't get to bury me to fix your life. Her eyes filled, but not with love, with the fear of someone watching their ladder burn. You sent the emails, she whispered. You triggered the audit, the listings, the notices, all of it. Yes, I said. Everything you planned for me happened to you instead. And do you feel good about that? She asked, voice cracking. I stepped back as a gust of wind howled through the skeleton of the building. Good? I said. No, I feel free. At that exact moment, all their phones vibrated at once, the way phones do when something catastrophic becomes public. A mass email from the bank, a suspension notice from HR, a forwarded thread from Lana's coworker, already gossiping about her boardwalk boyfriend and company charges. The push notifications lit their faces like lightning. Tyler stared at his screen in horror. Babe, they dropped me from 2 sponsorships. Lana covered her mouth. My license. Oh God, my listings. Richard swayed where he stood. The wind rumbled through the half-built frame above him like the skeleton of a dying animal. You destroyed us, he said hollowly. No, I said. You destroyed yourselves. I just stopped carrying the debris. Another blast of wind ripped a tarp loose overhead. It cracked like a sail, snapping violently, rain beginning to hammer down in thick sheets. I turned toward my truck. You all wanted a fresh start, I called over my shoulder. Consider this demolition day. Eli! Lana's voice broke. Please, don't walk away, don't leave us like you left me, I asked. She froze. There it was, the truth finally fitting in her mouth. Lightning split the sky behind her, turning the half-built structure into a jagged silhouette. I walked to my truck, boots sinking into the mud, the storm swallowing every sound except the pounding of their notifications. Before I got in, I said one last thing, not loud, but clear enough. You called me a burden. Turns out, I was the foundation. I closed the door, started the engine, drove away as the storm rolled over Harbor Ridge, swallowing the people who once tried to bury me under their lies. The story ends here, at the peak. No epilogue.